Hello, I'm Patricia from BigSibs, and today I'm going to be doing a question from the 2012 practice exam for AP Calculus BC. This problem is a pretty standard derivatives problem that includes the trickiest rule, the chain rule, and also your trig derivatives. So to start, I'm just going to go over trig derivatives. So you definitely have to know your trig derivatives for this exam, but there are some ways that can help you memorize them. So the first tip, right, is if a trig starts with C, its derivative will be negative. So as you can see, cosine starts with C, derivative is negative, so cosine. Cotangent starts with C, negative cosecant squared. Cosecant starts with C, negative cosecant x, cotangent x. So if it starts with C, it's negative. If it doesn't start with C, it's positive. So just right there, if you can remember that, you don't have to worry about those negatives and positives. The other trick is that these kind of come in pairs, where sine and cosine are a pair, tan and cotangent are a pair, and secant and cosecant are a pair. As in, the derivatives are kind of backwards of each other. Like if you actually think about those pairs, it's the same numbers, just opposite. So for example, sine, the derivative of sine is cosine. What's the derivative of cosine? Sine, plus that negative. Don't forget the negative. If the derivative of tan is secant squared, what would the derivative of cotan be? Oh, negative cosecant squared, because it's opposite and negative. Same thing for secant, right? Secant tangent, what's the opposite of secant? Cosecant. What's the opposite of tangent? Cotangent, plus that negative. So that's how you can you only really need to memorize 3 of these and just remember those 2 rules, opposites. All right, so for this question, all you really need is sine, but I wanted to give like a little brief thing on trig derivatives because you do have to know all of them for the exam. So then the second thing is your chain rule. Let me write the chain rule out. I actually don't like writing the chain rule out, but the basis for the chain rule is you want to start from the outside and then peel it back like an onion. And that should make a little bit more sense when I actually do it. But basically, chain rule happens when you have an inner function and an outer function. You start with the outer function, take the derivative of that, and then you multiply that by the derivative of the inner function. So I'm just going to write outer function, inner function, to see if we can make this make sense. So in this case, we have y equals sine cubed of x. Whenever you're given a trig function and they have it in the notation where the exponent is in between the trig and the x, the best thing to do is always rewrite it with the exponent on the outside. These are 2 equivalent notations, but one way it's a lot easier to visualize the inner and outer function. So always rewrite it. So now we're going to think about it like this. Our outer function is these parentheses to the 3, right? It's whatever's in the parentheses to the 3. So you can say, like, if it's not confusing, I'm going to call it a. So say the outer function is a cubed. And then our inner function is what's on the inside, which is sine x. And you can just imagine that sine x is substituted in for a. So first we take the derivative of the outer function. So that would be a basic power rule, where you bring your exponent to the front and then you subtract 1. So we've got 3a squared. I'm going to leave it as a for now. And so that's the derivative of the outer function, basic power rule. And then what's the derivative of the inner function? Well, that's what I went over at the beginning. Derivative of sine is just cosine. So then you multiply those together. But can we leave it like this? No, because we have an a. And the a was just something I made up to visualize that outer function. So you have to replace a with what a actually was, which is your original sine of x. So you've got 3 sine of x squared times cosine of x. Does this match any of the answers? It does, but it changed the notation back. So remember how before I said, when you do your problem, you want to have it in the parentheses notation. When you put the trig in the parentheses and on the outside, in answers, you're going to see it with the number in the middle. You really want to be able to just recognize that those are the same thing. So our answer here is dy dx equals 3 sine squared of x cosine of x, which is option E. All right, hopefully that was helpful, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you.